Montreal, bonsoir. It is Josh and Chuck, and we are coming to your French-ish town.
Yeah, and not just Montreal, we're also coming to Ottawa, the capital of Canada itself, and Toronto, one of our favorite cities in the entire world.
That's right. We're going to be in those cities on June 25th, 26th, and 27th, and there are still plenty of great tickets available. We love going to Canada, and we can't wait to go to some of these towns we've never been to, and you can get tickets. You can go to the websites of the venues. You can go to stuffyoushouldknow.com, click on the On Tour button, and click on the tickets link there. There are all kinds of ways to find these tickets.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh, and there's Chuck, and Jerry's here too. And this is Stuff You Should Know, part of our ongoing TV edition, because we were raised on TV. So it's familiar to us, and we love it.
Well, one of us loved this. We might as well go ahead and get that out of the way.
What do you mean?
MASH.
Yeah.
I love MASH. You hated MASH.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Come on.
I don't hate MASH. It's mostly a put on just to annoy you. I don't hate it. You know what I mean?
Well, tell me your history. Did you watch it at all?
Yeah, I watched it with my dad.
Okay.
My dad would laugh out loud, throw his head back and clap sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
And it was fun just to see my dad do that. Of course, he had, consumed 2 old Milwaukee tall boys by this time, but
sure.
I would guess that he probably would have laughed regardless. And that was it. I mean, that's how I know MASH, essentially. And I've seen probably a decent amount of the episodes, but it was never like, I love MASH, like Head of the Class. I never loved MASH like I loved Head of the Class or Perfect Strangers.
Right. Well, this is when I remember that you are younger than me. So it's not like you were like me, 9 years old and loving a show about alcoholic surgeons in the Korean War.
No, but I don't feel like a lot of it was lost on me. I think I got a lot of it. It just, I don't think I was old enough for the comedy.
Yeah. Well, I have talked about it before, but it was definitely weird that a 9-year-old was into a comedy, sometimes serious, about alcoholic surgeons during the Korean War.
Right.
But I was into it. And, at one point, MASH was on reruns in the evening and then late night. And while it was still airing, so on Thursdays, I believe it aired on Thursdays in prime time, at least it did from my recollection. Okay. At one point, I was watching 5 episodes of MASH on Thursday and 4 episodes of MASH every other day of the week.
Wow. There's not that many shows you can do that with.
No. It was like 5 and 5:30 and then something like 10 and 10:30 or something like that.
I can do that with Law and Order. I can just watch Law and Order indefinitely, the original series.
But I was into it. It was a formative show for me. It was, it was a top 5 show as a kid. So.
Wow. And is it still one of your top shows?
Yeah, I mean, it's not one I go back to, and it certainly has a place in my heart, but it's hard to definitively rank today's TV against TV back then,
It's different.
Very
definitely different.
There are no short shows about alcoholic surgeons in the Korean War now.
There are no short shows. They're all 6 or 8 hours long at least.
Yeah, the 30-minute sitcom is on its last legs, it feels like, huh?
Are there any out there? Oh, I guess there's a few.
I mean, the main networks still have their shows. I don't watch any of them.
The last mainstream network show that I saw that I really liked was a Ted Danson show called Mr. Mayor. And it was funny. I don't know why it got canceled. It had a great cast. It wasn't dumb. It was smart, but it was also hilarious. Had a real kind of like a slightly different 30 Rock vibe to the writing.
Yeah, you know what, man? I'd have to really dig to see what the last major network half-hour sitcom was I watched, because I feel like it was like Arrested Development, but maybe there's been one since then.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably before Mr. Mayor. That's as far as it would go back for me, too.
And you watched The Good Place, too, didn't you?
I did. I didn't watch it. I watched it binge-wise on, I guess, Netflix or whatever. I never watched it when it was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously all this is barreling us toward MASH, which is an acronym. Did you know that, Mr. Smart Guy?
I did. Yeah. Well, why don't you, since this is your favorite show, why don't you tell everybody what it stands for?
It stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And as everyone, even Jerry, knows that there's an asterisk in between the letters, 3 asterisks. Our friend Dave helped us with this. And
Who also hates MASH, by the way.
Yeah, he looked high and low and was like, there's no reason for the asterisks. He thinks that it was just a design thing, and I couldn't find anything that contradicted that.
Well, my feeling is that I think it clearly was meant to show that it is an acronym,
Sure.
Even though that's not how the military necessarily distinguished it. Because people would just say, what in the world does MASH mean? But, oh, wait, it must stand for something, would be my guess.
Right, but they didn't use like periods after each letter like the military would have.
Oh, yeah, sure. I get you.
I'm talking about the asterisks in particular.
An acronym is typically a period, right?
All right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks good, though. You're right.
It does. It looks fantastic.
Very signature.
So Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, and obviously if you've ever seen MASH, it's where the whole thing is set during the Korean War in a mobile surgical hospital, hence the name. And those were actually a real thing. Did you know that, Mr. Smart Guy who loves MASH so much?
Oh, boy. Is this what we're in for? I did know that because, at some point the show spells that out. So, yeah, I knew that was a thing. What I was curious, and, my MASH recollection, this is from a long time ago, I don't remember them ever moving at all. So I feel like they kind of stayed there.
Yeah.
Unless there was an episode that I missed where they were like, yeah, we're going to move to this other part of Malibu. Which is where it was filmed, the Fox Ranch, which is now Malibu Creek State Park, which is why in all the scenes of helicopters flying around Korea, who knows if that's what Korea looks like, but it looks like the mountains of Southern California.
Exactly. You don't know. That's where the Manson family lived for a while.
Oh, really?
No,
they lived on Spawn Ranch.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Anytime I hear ranch in California, I just immediately think of the Manson family.
Yeah, and I know I've told the story about shooting out there, but it was a big treat for me as a PA to shoot a commercial and see like a rusted out Army ambulance. And who knows what's there now, but there were still a few remnants back then.
Right. Yeah, I remember my mind being blown when I found out that was like California in the background.
Like they didn't go to Korea?
Yeah. I think that's kind of when I started to get that people cut corners for money.
Yeah, totally.
So a MASH was actually a thing, and I think it was actually first tried out in the Korean War.
Yeah.
Which I think was a 3-year war, but something interesting that I noticed about MASH is that it ran for 11 seasons. So it was almost 4 times longer than the actual war that was the setting for this TV show. But in reality, like I was saying, a MASH hospital was tried out in the Korean War in real life.
Yeah, for sure. And the idea is that they put the surgeons close to the front lines so they could save more lives. And it was, they were all kind of temporary. Like they slept on, cot-like beds and they lived in tents. And there was on the TV show, there's a lot of talk about the front and how close they were.
Yeah.
But the real life MASH units apparently had a 97% survival rate. If you got there, chances are you lived.
Yeah. So it was a really good idea that panned out.
Yeah.
And in the show, you can hear bombs going off sometimes. Occasionally, the overhead lights will flicker and sway because they are so close to the front. And I was thinking about the same thing that you mentioned, too, that they never seem to change or move their unit. And if it's supposed to be 4 to 5 miles behind front lines, then that would have to be a completely static front line for all those years to never move. But it made me wonder about like the real life MASH surgeons. Like how often did you have to break down your MASH unit and then move it, and set it up again, which apparently you could do very quickly. Supposedly you could set one up in 24 hours. But that also just kind of goes to explain like these were not like state-of-the-art surgical wards. They were like blood and guts, get your hands dirty. You're lucky if you have more than one scalpel kind of like surgical outfit.
Yeah, for sure. And that was conveyed very well in the show. The doctors on the show, just like in real life, the doctors were generally civilians that were drafted into the war to be Army surgeons. After, I think, World War II, they had a tougher time getting surgeons going. And when Korea came around, they passed the Doctors Draft Act. If you had already served in World War II as a doctor or surgeon or nurse or whatever, you could get waived. You could still serve if you wanted to. But the long and short of that is the recruits were younger. They didn't have as much experience. They definitely were not looking to join the Army, which is a big part of that show, is that none of them, but the main characters that we're going to talk about, like the protagonist, not the foils. The foils kind of like the Army, but the other guys generally did not like being there or being in the Army culture. And Alan Alda was 36 when they started making this. I was kind of curious about his starting age.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 36.
I think that's almost one of the cornerstones of this show, is that these are civilian doctors who were drafted in the military, and they're kind of bristling against the regimentedness that's required of them just from being in the military. They're like, just get out of our hair. We're here to save lives, Take that whole, like, reveille stuff and shove it.
Yeah, that's right. It was actually a book, and this, smart guy, I did not know.
No way. I was going to ask you that facetiously, and I didn't.
I'm sorry. I did not know this. Of course, I knew it was a movie, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the movie was optioned from a book written in 1968 called MASH, a novel about 3 Army doctors by a MASH veteran doctor named Dr. Richard H. Hornberger under a pseudonym, Richard Hooker. I think he added a co-writer named W.C. Hines when it became pretty clear that his book was a bit of a mess, because it sounds like it was just sort of a group of stories about his experience in the 8055, the 8055th MASH unit was the real-life unit that it was based on. And it sounds like it was, like what we see on TV and in the movies. Like, they partied a lot, they drank a lot, did a lot of pranks, and on the side did some surgery. Yeah,
but like you said, it was kind of loosely put together. Like, each chapter started with, hey, get this.
Right.
And they were basically like, they were anecdotes. And then apparently he also peppered in some like gory stuff just to basically get across the horrors of war. And he was actually a surgeon in Maine. And when he put this whole book together, and they brought in W.C. Hines, a sports writer, to kind of help him with it. If you've seen the TV show and you've never read the book, maybe even haven't seen the movie, you have a totally different conception of MASH than what Hornberger created and what the movie kind of portrayed, which is like, this wasn't he didn't have any liberal agenda. In fact, he was kind of conservative, and he didn't really like the tone of the TV show, but it still had like a kind of anti-war bent through it, or at least just questioning the morality of war, just how stupid and wasteful it is. But it wasn't, it was not a liberal book or written by a liberal person.
Well, once Hollywood gets a hold of something.
Yeah.
They're going to liberalize it. And that's basically, like you said, what the movie and TV show ended up being. It's like a statement, like an anti-war statement. Hornberger, not after MASH, because we'll talk about that later, the weird spinoff, but post-MASH, he wrote more MASH books after, the movie was a hit. Sure. He wrote 14 MASH novels. The first one was called MASH in Maine, which published the same year the TV show ended up premiering.
Yeah, 14 novels, a movie and a TV show off of a book that he had to bring a sports writer in to help, whip into shape.
Yeah. Can you say cash in?
Exactly. So, and he was just basically trying to get his anecdotes across, which were mostly like drunken prank stuff. Like you said, like you see on the TV show, like that was based on this guy's book. So, like I said, it was turned into a movie. I think it was optioned, maybe even the year it was published in 1968, because the movie came out in 1970. And I imagine it took a little while to make because it's a mess. And it was directed by Robert Altman.
So you didn't like the movie?
I've only seen it once. I'm not entirely certain I saw the whole thing. I don't remember if I saw the whole thing. I was reading about people debating on whether the movie is any good or not. And it seemed like the consensus was that I saw somebody say it's a masterpiece of 20th century comedy. Yeah,
see, that's where I veer off. Like, I loved the TV show. I liked the movie okay. Like, I'm a big Robert Altman guy. It critically did it was a big hit. It won the Golden Palm at the Cannes Film Festival in 1970, nominated for Best Picture and 4 other Oscars. I think it won Best Screenplay. So it was a huge hit. But it's like, I think maybe I was too young the first time I saw it, and I loved the TV show so much. I was like, oh, I got to go see the movie version.
Right.
And the movie version's a lot different, and it just didn't. I don't know. I don't think it's among Altman's best work, but certainly a lot of people disagree with me.
Sure. A lot of people like it. But it's almost one of those things, you get the impression that people like it because it's, supposedly this amazing thing, not because they like it. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
That's just kind of the tone that I got. But anyway, the movie was a little closer to the book. And in that it's like, it portrays everything that the younger generations dislike about the oldest generation right now.
Explain.
Sexism, racism.
Oh, sure.
Just completely ignoring like the consequences of harming other people.
Yeah.
Like essentially everything. Like those are the main themes throughout this movie, right? Although, again, the subtext is that this is an anti-war movie, at the very least, again, questioning the morality of war. And it was released right at, the peak of when anti-war sentiment was really aroused in America because of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't know where you were going, but you totally nailed it. Like in this movie, it's supposed to be funny that Hot Lips Houlihan, the head nurse, the shower curtain is ripped open and she is fully frontally exposed naked to the rest of the camp.
Yeah.
Like that's played for laughs. So obviously it's a movie of its time. It was written by Ring Lardner Jr., obviously son of great short story writer Ring Lardner.
Oh.
And I think they called him Pinky Ring was his nickname.
No. Oh, you got me. That's a good one.
Oh, thanks. That'd be a pretty good nickname for Ring Jr.
Yeah.
Or maybe Toe Ring?
No, Pinky.
Pinky Ring? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Altman, does his Altman thing, which is a lot of improvisation, a lot of overlapping dialogue. It's his hallmark as a filmmaker. Ring Lardner Jr. did not care for that, evidently, and said, like, you ruined what I wrote. And I don't know if he took that back after he won the Oscar for screenplay or not, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I saw he tried to get his name taken off of it, and then he won the Oscar.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I guess I'll stick with this.
That's really funny.
One other thing about Ring Lardner Jr. I saw is that he was one of the Hollywood 10 who was blacklisted by the McCarthy hearings.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
It was like almost a slightly subversive act in and of itself to hire him in the late 60s after, they were bringing him back, I guess.
Well, he was an old pothead. He was a medium-age pothead at that point.
So let's talk about the theme song, which I'm sure a lot of people know the title of it, but many people might not actually, because they played it. If you're a fan of the TV show, it was always instrumental.
Yeah, they changed it from the movie. In the movie, it had words. The name of the song is "Suicide is Painless," and the story behind it, I did not know. In the MASH movie, there was a character. I did know this stuff. Captain Waldowski, who says he wants to take his own life because he's gay and he's in the army and he can't bear it. And so they do a fake funeral, a living funeral, and give him a placebo pill, telling him it's a big sedative that's going to, take his life.
Right.
And so Altman was like, I need a song he pitched it as, I need it to be the stupidest song ever. So he hired a guy, a real musician named Johnny Mandel. Any relation to that's Mandrell. Sorry.
Close. He's a distant relation.
Yeah, that's right. He dropped the R. And he was like, we need a song for this funeral. I want it to be the dumbest song ever. And Altman tried to write it, but couldn't come up with anything that he liked. So as the story goes, he hired his 15-year-old son, Michael, to co-write this thing with this pro musician. And that's what they came up with.
Yeah. And like, that explains, like, it was a purposefully stupid song, which explains just the only lyrics I know, which is "Suicide is painless. It brings on many changes." And I've always been like, that seems a little tongue in cheek. Like, what's the
Right.
like? I don't get that.
It's
Now
weird.
I do.
Yeah.
It made me want to go back and read the rest of the lyrics because I'm sure they're hilarious.
I actually meant to do that too, and I did not. I thought, I know Emily worked with with Roger and two of his sons on The Gingerbread Man in Savannah, and I asked her if Michael was one of them, and she said no. It was two of the others, or maybe the other two.
Was it Gingerbread Man? Is that a Grisham thriller?
I think so.
Or at least in that vein.
Yeah, I think it was a Grisham thriller.
Hey, speaking of movies, I saw something just last night that I want to recommend.
Okay. Let's hear it.
It's an old Osgood Perkins movie.
Oh, you love that guy.
Gretel and Hansel. And I think it's
I
from
think you have it backwards.
No, that's the way that's the title.
I'm just kidding.
Because Gretel's older in this one. And it's from like 2012, 13. It's great.
You should start a podcast on Oz Perkins.
I wonder if I could get him to come on.
Call it like like Finding Oz or The Wizard of Oz or something like that.
Sure. Or Behind the Curtain.
Yeah. Behind the green, not behind the green door. That's something different. Behind the green curtain.
Behind the green door. Oh, man.
All right. I feel like we should take a break. We told the song story, and we'll be right back to finally get to the TV show after this.
Learn some stuff with Joshua and Charles. Stuff you should know.
Okay, Chuck, so you said we'd get to the TV show, but you lied, because there's a little more about the movie we have to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Chiefly that it was nominated for 5 Oscars. Like you said, Ring Lardner Jr. won for Best Screenplay. But most importantly is that Robert Altman hated the TV show.
Yeah, good point.
I'm guessing that Robert Altman never even saw the TV show. I'll bet that he heard that they were making it on CBS and that they were turning into a 30-minute comedy. And was like, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, even though I've never seen it. That would be my guess.
Yeah, maybe. And, to be fair at the time, and, we'll see Alan Alda's reaction to being pitched this idea and him not wanting to try to audition at first, is that the history of TV and war shows and Army and Navy shows is stuff like Hogan's Heroes and McHale's Navy.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing that somebody like Robert Altman and Alan Alda wouldn't have liked. And it was only after Alan Alda read the pilot and he said, "This is the best TV pilot I've ever read. I'm totally going to audition for this."
Sure.
That he decided to do it. But I could see Altman just not going there,
Yeah, I mean, that's a really risky thing that's actually, in retrospect, quite surprising. It's retrospect, by the way. That's the German pronunciation. It's really surprising that anybody was able to pull it off, because if you know the book or the movie, the idea of adapting those into a TV show, a family-friendly TV show in the late 60s, early 70s is like, wait, what are you going to do? The only way you could possibly do that is to make it like screwball hijinks like McHale's Navy, where the war just happens to be the setting. It could also be an office comedy, essentially. And that's not at all what they did, thanks to a producer named Gene Reynolds and a writer named Larry Gelbart. I don't know how those two came together, but it was a match made in CBS heaven.
Yeah, for sure. Gelbart was an experienced writer. He wrote, or at least co-wrote, the musical A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Later on, after post-MASH, he wrote the movie Tootsie, which is great, and the movie Oh God with George Burns and John Denver,
great.
which to me is great, and I guess to you too.
Yeah.
Not so much Oh God Book 2, but that first Oh God was awesome.
I saw both. I don't remember the book 2, but the first one was so great.
Yeah, agreed. But they wanted to walk that fine line between having laughs and it being a quote unquote comedy and an anti-war movie and a movie about the horrors of combat. And it's really interesting. They walk a really tough, fine line. And as we'll see, they ended up doing some really groundbreaking episodes in later seasons. The first few seasons were definitely leaned way more into the sort of hijinks of it all.
Yeah.
And then I think they realized, like, hey, we have a real chance here to have some incredible character arcs and really do something a little bit more like All in the Family was doing.
Yeah, they actually put it behind All in the Family at some point, which helped bring it out of TV purgatory, I guess. But one of the ways that the producers were able to kind of navigate that narrow margin between just idiocy and over melodramatic stuff, was that the studio or the network was like, obviously we're going to have a laugh track, 30 minutes, comedy, have to have a laugh track. And the producers kept pushing back, and they finally reached a compromise where the OR scenes could not have a laugh track. And then there were sometimes other episodes or scenes where they were real downers, where they didn't have the laugh track either. But if you watch MASH today, it's easy to kind of miss the laugh track until they get into the OR, and then it's glaringly missing. Yeah. Which I think is actually kind of useful in kind of contrasting, how these surgeons, or these, not just the surgeons, but everybody at the MASH unit is having to get jerked around by reality, like just messing around, getting drunk on homemade gin. And then all of a sudden you have like both of your hands in a 18-year-old soldier's chest. Like that's what they were trying to portray. And the kind of smart use of a laugh track actually helped with that.
Yeah, for sure. And, as a kid and just as an American in general at the time, like the laugh track was so ubiquitous that you didn't really think about it much as being like weird. It was usually like a studio audience thing, and this was not a studio audience show. But you just sort of accepted it. Like apparently the BBC never used the laugh track at all. And then I'm also reminded of like, I think years back someone did some Friends episodes without the laugh track and divided them up into clips, and it's just jarring to hear that kind of a show without a laugh track. So MASH was sort of a weird case.
We've talked about that because not only is it jarring, it's like, this isn't funny at all.
It really cues you, and you don't even the laugh track sounds like such a dumb thing. Like 100 years from now, people say like they really did that on shows, but it was such an institution and like a certain kind of comedy that, like you said, without it, you don't know when to laugh almost.
Do you remember in the 2000 aughts, it must have been right before Cartoon Network came around, or Adult Swim, right before Adult Swim. Somebody put out like old episodes of Birdman and Space Ghost, like the original 60s episodes, but then they peppered them with laugh tracks, often inappropriately placed, where then nothing even remotely funny is going on, but the audience, this canned laughter just kind of comes in, and it made it so bizarrely funny. Have you not seen those?
Was that Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
No, this is before Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh, okay.
Because, Dave
Willis.
Yeah, Dave Willis was on Space Ghost Coast to Coast, or he co-founded it, I guess. He might have had something to do with this, because it was clearly attached to Space Ghost Coast to Coast, because it happened, right before it. But if you watch those, it's such an easy, basic idea, but it's so funny to watch them.
Oh man, those early years of Cartoon Network were just the best.
Yeah.
And Comedy Central, like it used to be so much better,
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
I think Comedy Central is just old South Park reruns in The Daily Show once in a while.
Yeah, that's a real shame. As far as MASH and their storylines go, though, apparently Gelbert and Reynolds interviewed a lot of veterans from the Korean War and got a lot of stuff from that and worked into episodes, like the episode where a wounded North Korean soldier is in the ER there, and he pulls a pin out of a hand grenade that he was hiding on the operating table. Like that apparently really happened, as did a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. I was like, did it really happen? And I went and found reference to the actual name of the surgeon who told that story in these interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like it definitely happened. So I think I said that MASH was on for 11 years, and it premiered in September 72 and ran all the way to February 1983. That is a long run for a show.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good.
Back
then, now, like 11 years is a really long time. but at first it was not very well received, or at the very least, people didn't know about it because it was put up against The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights, and it was not doing very well there.
Yeah, I mean, Wonderful World of Disney was a juggernaut of a show.
Sure.
For mainstream America. So Alan Alda apparently used to joke that MASH was one of the top 78 shows on TV early on.
Yeah.
And very Alan Alda kind of thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved it, like you said earlier, to After All in the Family, which was a huge hit, and that gave MASH a lot more visibility, obviously. And all of a sudden, MASH was the number 2 show on TV, and that was it. And Dave found a great quote from Newsweek as far as the critical acclaim that I think kind of sums it up. It is this. Without ever moralizing, MASH is the most moral entertainment on commercial television. It proposes craft against butchery, humor against despair, wit as a defense mechanism against the senseless enormity of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I think the Newsweek people really got it.
Should we talk about the characters?
Yeah, let's, because we've made reference to some, but I feel like we should get a little more in depth with them.
Yeah, so Hawkeye we mentioned a few times. He's, I guess you would just call the main character, and that was Alan Alda. By the way, the great Alan Alda. He's one of my heroes in entertainment.
Really?
And by all accounts, just one of the best dudes ever. And he is 90 years old now, and which is great. He's still around, and he is one of the great writers and great directors and great actors and great human beings in the history of the TV and movie business, I think.
Did he write a lot of those movies he was in the early 80s?
I think he directed almost all of them.
Really?
He co-wrote 13 MASH episodes, directed 31.
Mm-hmm.
And he played, Hawkeye Pierce. This is a little known fact. Did you get that Mental Floss article I sent over?
Yeah.
With the top or whatever, 12 things?
17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of these guys actually served in the at least in the reserves. Alan Alda served 6 months in the Army Reserves in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy.
So did Jamie Farr, who played Corporal Klinger, who is essentially far and away the most famous person until Katie Holmes came along to have come from Toledo.
I thought you did the Toledo thing. He was always, if you never watched the show, Klinger often referenced the Toledo Mud Hens.
Toledo Mud Hens and Tony Paco's, which is a real place in Toledo.
Oh, I mean, that's your place. I didn't know he talked about that on the show.
Oh, yeah. He talked about Tony Paco's all the time.
Oh, see, I didn't know what it was back then. I was like, who the hell is Tony Paco?
No, Tony Paco's is like a hot dog place, a Hungarian hot dog place. And every time he would mention the Mud Hens or the Tony Paco's, I would look over at my dad and there'd just be like a single tear going down his cheek. He was so filled with pride because,
you sure that wasn't Old Milwaukee
at the time. He got some on his face.
All right, so Hawkeye's the main guy. Alan Alda, for what it's worth, is the first person to win an Emmy for acting, writing, and directing on the same show.
Wow.
Then we have his buddy, Trapper John, played by Wayne Rogers, who was in real life in the Navy. Mm-hmm. And he is the tent mate and confidant. Apparently Robert Klein, the great comedian, turned down that role and regretted it.
I could see that. Although Wayne Rogers, the guy who played Trapper John, was like, this guy's not fully fleshed out. I'm basically Hawkeye's sidekick, right? I'm in the sidecar. I'm laughing along with him. We're doing like pranks together, but there's no me. Who is me? And the director was like, I think it's who is I. And they got into a really long disagreement about whether it was I or me. And Wayne Rogers eventually left after the 3rd season.
Yeah.
And the reason he was able to was because he never signed a contract with the producers. I guess there was like a morality clause. He's like, I'm not signing this. And they forgot to go back and get him to sign something. So he left after the 3rd season, which apparently he seemed fine with.
Yeah. I mean, MASH is one of those shows like Cheers that was able to withstand some pretty drastic cast changes. It's hard to pull off as a TV show. Mm-hmm. Cheers did it very well and MASH did it very well because 3 of the main characters ended up being replaced. Trapper was replaced by Honeycutt, B.J. Honeycutt, played by Mike Farrell, or maybe it's Farrell. He was actually a U.S. Marine in real life. Mm-hmm. He was great. I loved Honeycutt. Again, those later seasons after like Trapper left, and as we'll see some of the other characters left, there were some tonal changes. But I was along for the whole ride. I was in for all of it.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, Hawkeye and Trapper John were like prankster, drunks, womanizers. They would harass the nurses and try to get them to sleep with them and all sorts of stuff. And then BJ Honeycutt was a lot different. He was a breath of fresh air because he was very true to his wife back home.
Yeah, for sure.
And he had a mustache.
That's right. Then we have Radar, of course, Corporal Radar O'Reilly, played by Gary Berghoff. He was named Radar because he was a very much a recurring thing on the show. Like every single episode, he would either kind of finish somebody's sentences, usually Colonel Blake's sentence, or know what somebody needed, like before they needed it, and kind of just hand it to them. Or he would, and this is a lot of times at the end of an episode, he would always sense the helicopters coming in with wounded before you could hear the helicopters. And usually, like if it was a pretty light episode, there'd be a lot of hijinks that would be kind of halted at the end of the episode when he heard the helicopters coming.
Right. And then there was Colonel Blake. He was one of my favorites, played by McLean Stevenson. And
great.
He was an actual doctor who was put in charge of this MASH unit. And he's like, I have no idea how to run any kind of army outfit. So he was always kind of in over his depth, but he tried really hard. And he would get perturbed, which was kind of funny sometimes because he never got mad. He just got perturbed and befuddled kind of a little
exasperated.
bit. But he wasn't an idiot. Like it would have been really easy for any actor to portray him as kind of a dummy. But McLean Stevenson managed to keep him from going down that route.
Yeah, for sure. He was, man, I love that character. Yeah. We should mention, too, that Gary Berghoff as Radar was the only one who bridged the movie as far as, being in both. Colonel Blake was then replaced by Colonel Sherman T. Potter, played by Harry Morgan, and he was a very different character than Blake in that he was an old school soldier, but he also kind of, he wasn't as by the book as you would think for an old school soldier and sort of indulged the antics for the most part.
Yeah, and he used the term horse feathers a lot.
Yeah, horse feathers.
BS. There was another great character, too, who you just love to hate. He was so good. Frank Burns, who was played by Larry Linville. He had what you would term today as justice sensitivity. He liked to follow the rules. He was fine with the military and the requirements for its conformity. And anyone who didn't conform to it just drove him up the wall, and he tried to get them in trouble. So he was like a tried and true fascist, essentially.
Yeah, he was a bureaucrat. He was completely the foil of Hawkeye and Trapper. He was played by Robert Duvall in the film, but Larry Linville, as Ferret Face, as they called him, was just, I always felt bad for the guy in real life because he was able to play one of the more unlikable characters in like TV history, and he just did it so well. He was a really good actor.
Yeah, we should say also, Frank Burns was not a good surgeon. And at the end of the day, in this MASH unit, that's what mattered, right? That's why Hawkeye and Trapper John got away with all of their antics, was because they were really good surgeons. Yeah. And when it came to it, they were going to save people's lives. Frank Burns, what made him even worse is that he wasn't even a good surgeon. Like you could die on his operating table because he wasn't that good. And yet he would still go tell on you for, drinking gin that you made in your tent. It made him so much worse.
Yeah, they were tent mates, the three of them. Yeah, the two guys, and then Burns lived together. And then he was replaced after the 5th season in season 6 by David Ogden Stiers as Charles Emerson Winchester III, who was a major. I always thought he was kind of British, but he just sort of did that mid-Atlantic thing. Right. Because he came from a wealthy family in Boston, a family of doctors apparently, and he was a little less of a foil, but still a bit of a foil. Yeah, he just didn't blend in with them because he was so snobby. Yeah. They just had nothing in common, essentially, from their backgrounds. Yeah. Then there's Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, played by Loretta Swit, who I've seen just from reading up on MASH, the TV show, is roundly credited as taking like a pretty one-dimensional victim angry character and turning her into something like really respectable and three-dimensional over the course of the 11 seasons, and that she actually got better. Like the character got more involved and impressive and interesting over the years thanks to this actor. Yeah, Loretta Swit. She was great. Rest in peace. I think we lost her last year or the year before, like fairly recently.
Oh, yeah.
She, on the show, Hot Lips was having an affair with Frank Burns, and they were always sort of coupled together against the other guys, and they were bureaucrats. But like you said, she had a great character arc, ended up really developing into something special. And then rounding it out, I guess we already talked about Klinger.
Right.
We have Father Mulcahy, played by William Christopher, who is the chaplain, and that's about all we need to say about him. He was just sort of there.
Did we talk about Klinger's wearing women's clothing?
Oh, no, that was a big part of it, yeah.
Hugely. Apparently, he was written as a one-off character initially, and he was written as a gay character who wore women's clothes, like full-on frilly dresses and sun hats, like Sunday, like going to church kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Jamie Farr was like, look, I think I can do this a little differently. Like, imagine if this is a straight guy dressing like this because he wants to get out of the army for some psych thing.
Yeah.
And he did such a good job in this one-off episode that they brought him back as a character, not just a recurring character. He became one of the characters.
Yeah, for sure. And he was one of the great characters. He tried to eat a Jeep in one episode to further prove his mental unfitness to serve. And that was one of the funny episodes. I guess before we take a break, we should rattle off some of these guest stars.
Yeah.
Because MASH had quite a list of people who came on for one episode, including, but not limited to, Ron Howard,
Sure.
Leslie Nielsen, Patrick Swayze, Lawrence Fishburne, the great George Wendt, Terry Garr. Who else you got?
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
The Dice Man.
Yeah.
Well, just one thing. This is apparently where Leslie Nielsen made the transition to comedy.
Oh, okay.
Was on his appearance on MASH.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Rita Wilson.
Oh, we're still going? Yeah. Don't forget Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah. John Ritter, Shelley Long.
Pat Morita.
Of course, Pat Morita's in there.
He was in 2.
It's Hollywood in the 70s. They're like, we don't care what part of Asia you're from.
Exactly.
Just sign them up.
Exactly. We feel pretty progressive that we're actually casting an Asian to play an Asian.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. All right. Shall we take that second break?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. We'll be right back.
Learn some stuff with Joshua and Charles. Stuff you should know.
All right. So earlier we talked about some what you would call very special episodes. This was a thing back then on a lot of shows, like, when Arnold and Willis find drugs in different strokes, like when a comedy takes a more serious tone.
Mm-hmm.
MASH had quite a few, and we can go through these kind of quickly. I'm going to pick Sometimes You Hear a Bullet from season 1, because that is an episode in which Hawkeye's childhood friend comes over as a journalist to write a book about the war, and he ends up dying on Hawkeye's operating table. And that was the first episode that was really very heavy, where like Hawkeye cries and it gets kind of serious about the horrors of war.
Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to pick Dreams from season 8, which is apparently its most controversial episode, because it is very jarring, very disturbing, where it covers each of the main characters is taking a rest from like a long day in the OR, where they saw 211 patients over 33 hours. And it goes through each one of their dreams, and it's very surreal. All sorts of weird, disturbing stuff happens. And I haven't seen it, but I want to watch it because it sounds just totally nuts. But
it's pretty weird.
It's completely contrary to any other episode. So I imagine if you were tuning in on Saturday night on CBS expecting, to kind of laugh and maybe cry, and you saw this horrible weirdness, you might have had a bad reaction to it.
Yeah, for sure. There were 2 more episodes that were definitely weird as far as mainstream television goes. A documentary style one called The Interview, where it was like a black and white, like a Vietnam era black and white documentary about war. Mm-hmm. That one was kind of crazy to see on TV at the time. It won a Humanitas Prize for a work that explores the human condition in a meaningful way. And then the other one was called Point of View, and the whole thing is shot from Like the camera's point of view is from a wounded soldier who can't talk. And so all the actors are just coming up and addressing camera as the soldier. And it's, again, a very sort of groundbreaking roll of the dice to do for mainstream TV in the 70s.
For sure. And then we got to talk about Abyssinia Henry.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, this episode wrecked little Chuck, little 9-year-old Chuck.
I remember this one, too, and I was like, where's the laugh track?
Yeah.
So Colonel Blake, who we both love, played by McLean Stevenson. This is the season 3 finale. He gets word that he's going home. Like his tour is over. He's out of the army now. And so he leaves, and that's it. Like everybody's saying bye. Everybody's happy for him. He's happy. And then at the end of the episode, Radar comes into the OR and he's holding a telegram. And what does the telegram say, Chuck?
I can't even say it.
It says that Colonel Blake's plane went down with Colonel Blake aboard and that there were no survivors. So on his way back home after his tour, after becoming beloved by all viewers, Colonel Blake is dead. The writers killed him after he was already off the show, and it just wrecked everybody, like you said.
It was brutal. Alan Alda knew this was going to happen. The story goes that they didn't tell the rest of the cast until they got their sides that morning. And because they wanted, real reaction, or maybe they didn't even have the sides. Maybe I think they just learned when Radar walked in the scene. And Gary Berghoff's acting in that is incredible. And, there's no reaction. Like no one's like, oh my God, no. It's just very quietly they keep operating, and you just hear they're crying, and you just hear like scalpel, suction, and it's devastating.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, very, very tough.
So Chuck, I feel like the episode, we can just skip it. The MASH finale, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, no big deal.
I don't know if we said, but surely we've mentioned this before, that the most watched television episode is the final episode of MASH, which is really saying something because it was 2.5 hours long.
Oh my God, that's right. It was. I remember it being long. I don't remember it being that long.
2.5 hours, man.
Yeah, and of course that includes commercials. A 30-second spot apparently was $450,000, which would be $1.36 million today.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, and it was, the war ends basically. It's the last episode, but it is very dramatic for a lot of it. And like the things the characters go through at the end are all pretty, take pretty dramatic turns.
Yeah, and it very famously in this like kind of heartrending montage at the very end, it shows how every character dies in the future.
You're talking about 6 Feet Under?
Yeah. That is
because I haven't seen
greatest.
it in a while. I was like, did that really happen?
That is one of the greatest endings to any show ever.
Of course. It was great. Also gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it was. But Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen is fantastic too, for sure.
Yeah, so like you said, the biggest rated TV show of all time, and that was like including sports events up until Super Bowl 2010, finally surpassed it. Mm-hmm. But MASH is still, as far as just a regular TV show goes, the finale is the most watched. I think 75% of America tuned into that, which is a staggering number. You see Hawkeye in a mental hospital. Father Mulcahy loses his faith in God. He loses his hearing and his faith in God. Klinger ends up marrying a Korean woman and stays there, ironically.
Yeah, because he was always trying to get out of there, right?
He's trying to go home.
Yeah.
Did you see the possible urban legend about the plumbing in New York City?
No.
That was in the mental floss thing. I don't know if this is true, but I've always heard this, that the plumbing in New York City supposedly broke during the first commercial break because everybody got up to pee at the same time in New York.
That's awesome.
That totally sounds like it's probably not real.
Right.
They all flushed at once and it just broke everything.
All the alligators drowned.
But that's funny. It's a good story though, regardless. But sure. 121 million people tuned in to that episode, and I was one of them. My whole family sat around, and we didn't do that kind of thing much.
Oh, we watched it. My mom videotaped it. We watched it on videotape many times too.
Yeah. Yeah,
she'd be like, watch this part.
Watch it again.
I have a cute little anecdote about watching MASH, though.
All right, let's hear it.
Yumi. So her older brother, Bobby, he has special needs. And one day when they were much, much younger, Yumi must have probably been 5 or 6 or something. Bobby had to go to the ER, and her dad was a Marine. So they were living on a Marine base at the time. And her mom, like her dad whisks Bobby off to the ER, and her mom tells her that Bobby's going to the hospital. And so Yumi's only frame of reference for military hospitals is a MASH unit where there's always bombs going off and everything is kind of nuts. So she was really worried her brother was going to a MASH unit, which I've just found endlessly cute.
Yeah, that's adorable.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm going to bring that up next time I see Yumi. That's hysterical.
She'll think that's hilarious. Oh, by the way, Echo and the Bunnymen is Saturday.
This Saturday in Atlanta?
Mm-hmm. At the Tabernacle. Remember, I told you I'd remind you again.
I know. I'm looking to see if I can go. We should probably do this off air.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to remind you.
Okay. You're like, I'm not going, but you should go.
Oh, I'm going.
We will quickly mention the MASH spinoffs. I teased After MASH a few times as saying post MASH, but that was the name of one of the spinoffs. It didn't run long, about a season and a half. And it was one of the ones that had the most characters, I guess, from the show, because the real Colonel Potter was there, Klinger was there, and Father Mulcahy was there. Obviously all in a hospital, post-war, a veterans hospital.
Did you watch it? I remember watching After MASH.
Yeah, I watched it some, and I remember not loving it, so I don't think I watched it all.
There was also Trapper John MD, which was on for 7 seasons, and it even was running concurrently at the same time as MASH itself for a lot of that time.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Yeah.
To not have, what was his name?
Wayne Rogers.
Yeah, like they recast it, so it's just like, why not just call it something else?
Yeah, I guess because everybody loved the character, but even still, it's a character like 50 years in the future or something like that, or 30 years in the future. So he's an old man, so they had another actor, Pernell Roberts, who you probably know from the 60s touring company of Camelot, but he played Trapper John as an older man.
Oh, okay. So, of course, now I'm a dummy. Like, the reason they called it that was so they could bank on the success of MASH.
That's what I would guess.
Yeah, I didn't think that through.
It almost makes me wonder if they just retrofitted a show that had already been greenlit to Trapper John.
Yeah, like The Pit was supposed to be an ER spinoff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lawsuit because apparently and of course I'm speaking completely as someone who doesn't know a lot about this, so look it up if you really want to know. But I think the Michael Crichton estate got involved, and they're like, wait a minute, you can't do an ER spinoff without like giving us some juice, because he came up with the idea for ER or whatever, or wrote the book that it was based on or something. And I think there's like a paper trail of, because The Pit was like, no, that wasn't the deal. It's just a new show. It's not supposed to be Noah Wiley's character, but I think there's an email trail where they were like, oh, you want money, huh? Let's just call it something else and change the character's name.
Who is that dumb these days?
I don't know. And I don't know I'm sure I'm getting some details wrong, but I know that it is an ongoing issue.
Man. There was one more. It was Walter, Walter, with the asterisks even.
Yeah.
That was a 1984 pilot that I think it aired one time, and it aired in the Eastern and Central time zones. It was apparently so bad they didn't even air it in the West that same night.
Didn't they do that for our show?
Pretty much. They tried to cram it all into one night for sure.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't know that about the West Coast thing. That is a brutal move.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like we can't even let the California eyes see the show.
Right. So it was about Radar O'Reilly in his life after Korea. And it was played by Gary Berghoff, and he was going to become a cop, and his wife had just left him, and he was contemplating suicide. And this was a comedy, a half-hour comedy, from what I understand. So people didn't like it.
I bet you that's out there. I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah. You got anything else?
I got nothing else. I appreciate you indulging this one. I know it's not your favorite show, but I thank you.
Hey, I can always talk about MASH for 53 straight minutes anytime you want.
All right, let's do it again right now.
Okay. If you want to know more about MASH, just go start watching it. I propose watching the episode Dreams first. Maybe just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And since Chuck said yeah, that means it's time for listener mail.
Yeah, not so much a listener mail, even though it was one. Little inside baseball, but our email has been screwed up for a couple of months now as far as If you haven't heard back from us, by the way, and
Yeah.
you've sent an email lately, it's because our email is super screwed up.
It's my fault.
The good news is we're now getting them again, but they are being forwarded, so you can't directly reply. Long way of saying this comes from Martha Black, and there's really no need in even reading the email because all it was, hey, Chuck, by the way, that Howard Hughes picture of him as an old guy in Vegas is actor Rip Torn.
No.
And it even says so in the caption that she found. So I definitely have egg on my face for that one because now that I see it, I'm like, yeah, I guess it is Rip Torn.
Is that right, Artie?
Yeah, but he was younger and he was, had tissue boxes on his feet, for God's sakes.
It fooled me too, Chuck.
Yeah, oh well.
Fooled me too. Well,
And
don't
of
worry
course that
about
makes sense. There are no pictures of Howard Hughes in Vegas. He didn't allow that.
it. At least it was an AI,
Yeah, that's true.
At least they got Rip Torn to pose for it.
Yeah.
So who is that from?
Martha Black.
Thanks a lot, Martha Black. She sounds like an MTV VJ from back in the
Totally.
day.
That's right.
If you want to be like Martha Black and show off your name, you can email us too. Hopefully we'll get it these days. Send it off to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.